Well, I appreciate you guys having me out today. Philip for reaching out and kind of introducing me around. Just to give you some background on me, I started with the Park Service 17 years ago, and I've had an opportunity to live in some fantastic places from the mountains to the coast. Spent a large portion of my career on Edisto Beach and was born and raised on the coast of South Carolina, just outside of Myrtle Beach in Conway. So I do have a vested interest in the state of South Carolina and the coast in particular. I arrived to Hunting Island in April of last year. And to be quite frank, it was running full steam ahead, so I just kind of held on for the ride for a bit. And part of that has been so many projects that have kicked off over the course of the past year. If you've been out to Hunting Island over the past couple of months, I'm sure you've noticed the road work, the paving that's happening out there. We were fortunate enough to open the pier, which had been closed for many years since Hurricane Matthew. So I'd like to kind of run down what we're experiencing at the park from a visitation standpoint, what we're seeing from a financial standpoint, not to get too deep into the woods, but to kind of show our visitation and the popularity of the park and how I really think that the successes of Beaufort County and the successes of Hunting Island are one and the same. I think that we're in this together, and there couldn't be a better relationship, for me kind of stepping in and having some time to get to know everybody and establish my family in the Beaufort community is, it's exciting. There's going to be some really good things, and I'm excited to be a part of this. So what we'll do is I'll dive into some projects. Please feel free if anyone has any questions as I'm going through. You can interrupt me. It's fine. We'll kick off with the campground at Hunting Island. So the paving in the campground is complete. We are working on road shoulder buildup right now. There are some significant drop-offs after the paving that went in. We tried to build the road up to an elevation so that some of the tidal flooding that we experienced on the king tides as well as heavy rain events. And part of that is we have to do road shoulder buildup. So we hope to have that done this week. Fingers crossed. Don't hold me to it. But we'll do our best. We've got 125 campsites out there, and we average about 89% occupancy, so it's a busy campground. Of course, for those of you that were fortunate enough to know Hunting Island and the campground, pre-Matthew, that we lost many campsites, and that just due to the dynamic nature of where that campground is at, and really the layout of how the island is situated. The area that we can grow or rebuild with infrastructure and utilities to build another campground is limited. So what we're trying to do is take the 125 campsites that we have and offer the best possible experience we can. While we understand that we're not able to accommodate as many, our job now is with fewer sites we should be able to provide a better service, and that's what we're striving to do. We continue to move forward with our pricing structure for overnight accommodations through a system of dynamic pricing. It's something that's been established through overnight accommodations, in particular the hotel industry, for many, many years. And this structure is set up to basically rise and fall, give and take with season, with demand, with occupancy rates. And what that allows us to do is find a sustainable way that we can, accommodate all of the campers that are coming in while also taking care of our financial obligations. As I'm sure you've all seen, COVID, as we navigated that insanity, one of the places that folks wanted to flock to was green space. Parks were busier than ever. The staff at the park, from operational, administrative to our maintenance division and hosts and volunteers, were all feeling the brunt of that, and really took that time to kind of evaluate what we were doing and how we were doing it. And as we kind of processed through COVID and kind of got to the other side of that, and we find ourselves here today, that the demand, the popularity, we are still kind of riding on that plateau now of increased visitation. So financially, our numbers are up. Last year was a record year for revenue in the history of the park. And this year it looks very good as well. And I think that's a testament to Beaufort County, our marketing efforts, but also, more folks are coming out and they're coming back, right? They come out and they experience Hunting Island, and they want to come back and take their friends out. And that's kind of makes us feel better about what we're doing, that maybe we're not messing it up. Maybe we're doing it right. Some of the concerns that we have with the campground in particular, we mentioned mosquito control, so we're working with Beaufort County right now, obviously, to try and kind of figure out how we can, monitor that and quantify our efforts there and see, is the juice worth the squeeze, and where we can kind of focus our efforts. And I'm really excited and optimistic about where that's going to go. And I truly feel like, with the campground generating roughly 40% of, the overall revenue that comes into the park, that's an area where if we get that right and we're able to kind of make that experience better, that we'll continue to see the benefits from that, both from a visitor experience standpoint as well as from an economic standpoint. With the paving process, we have added a new lane into the campground, which should help mitigate some of that traffic backup on those heavy check-in, check-out days. We're also, enforcing our check-in and check-out times to give us time to, get in and clean those campsites and evaluate that campground and make sure we address things on the front side. And we're proactively managing the campground as opposed to waiting for our clients to call us and say we have an issue. So we're taking advantage of that 2-hour window that's built into the rules and regulations within state parks. That gives us time to address those issues. So now when we do the check-in with the new lane, we have more capacity, more stacking capacity. And it's our hope that will minimize traffic backup on 21 from the campground perspective. We'll get into the day use side here in a bit. So just to jump over really quick to the Lighthouse. I know that's been a point it's on a lot of folks' radar, and it certainly is on our radar. I have a meeting this week to discuss moving forward with that project. It's going to be an extended closure. The reason that we knew that a closure was coming with the Lighthouse, that facility being as old as it is, located right on the ocean, much of it is made out of cast iron. So there were some safety issues, some safety concerns. And as we were conducting our monthly inspections, we identified some significant issues that had just kind of arisen. We brought our engineers down. We were able to do an evaluation of that facility and decide that it was in the best interest for safety of both the staff and the public for us to close that off. So not only is it closed off to public access, it's also closed off to staff access. There are only 3 individuals on Hunting Island that have the information or the key to get into that facility, because we don't want anyone to be in a position where they could be injured by some of the things that are going on there. So it's a little sooner. We were thinking it was going to be fall or winter by the time that the closure went into place, but I'm always wanting to err on the side of caution. And my rule of thumb is, if I don't want my family to go in there, if I don't feel good about that, I certainly don't want anyone else doing that. So stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of exciting news moving forward on that. Right now, engineers are discussing that. So folks with big degrees and long letters after their name are figuring that out, and I will be happy to keep you abreast of that as it moves forward. Of course, beach renourishment is completed. When I was over at Edisto, there was a saying that, a healthy beach is a wealthy beach. And it is so incredible to go out on the beach of Hunting Island right now and to see all the families and the folks that are out there and interacting and having a good time and being able to enjoy the beach and actually have a beach there for them to enjoy. So as of now, the response to beach renourishment has been incredible. We are continuing with our resource management efforts as well as some of the obligations that we had that were attached to that beach renourishment project, such as compaction monitoring. I think we're just doing our follow-up for the season. Should be scheduled any day now, as well as the piping plovers and the red knots. We continue to work through that with Audubon and with DNR. But it really, it's something to see when you go out and you look at the beach at Hunting Island. It's a different beach, and I validate that. But it's a very different island as well. It's one of the most dynamic places that I've ever had the opportunity to work at, but really spend a significant amount of time on. So when you work in it every day and you see the sand shift and the salt pruning and how all of that happens, it kind of gives you perspective as to where you fit and how much the island has changed. The beach has changed just since my first visit here was 17 years ago when I first started with the Park Service. And when I first came here in April of last year, I had to stand back for a minute and figure out where I was at, which is how much that has changed. So we're doing our best from beach renourishment, from all of our projects, to try and figure out not how to make Hunting Island something that it wasn't, but how to really evaluate, what we have with the island right now and how we can move forward sustainably, how we can balance that. And I think beach renourishment gives us a good opportunity to kind of use that as our acid test to say, okay, this is what happens when we bring all of these people together and we try to move forward with compromise. What can we learn? What can we take from that? And how can we, move forward with other projects and do those better? So that's our hope, and I think that's kind of a secondary benefit to the beach renourishment. Not only the experience that the visitors have now, but our ability to kind of learn from that. So, and with a big beach, now comes an exacerbated problem with parking. If you've been on Sea Island Parkway in the summertime, in particular on a Saturday or Sunday, it's not uncommon for traffic to back up both ways, both going back to Beaufort as well as heading back towards Fripp. It's been a challenge that my predecessors have faced. This is not new. It really is just getting worse. As more folks are moving down, we're going to really have to think outside the box. We're going to have to evaluate how best we can. That's a problem that we can look at, and what can we do to help kind of minimize the impacts of this backup. So I've been fortunate enough to communicate with Beaufort County. Again, that relationship is incredible, and truly we could not be as successful as we are without that relationship. It's integral to the growth of the park, and certainly appreciate the involvement with Beaufort County Sheriff's Office and EMS and all of those first responders that come out and kind of help us on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. So we're tossing around some ideas now. Going to try to lean to other areas that perhaps have faced those capacity issues and faced those traffic control issues, and see what we can learn from that, and not try to kind of throw a shot at the dark here or knee jerk it. Really dig down and figure out how best we can do that. With the road paving, there's a couple of things that I should probably just kind of put out there on the table. One is we have a significant drop off. So now after the road paving has happened, they've kind of milled that road up. So there's going to be some soft soil on the side of the road. So parking on the side of Sea Island Parkway along the park is going to be limited. We want to allow people to stage up on Highway 21 or on Sea Island Parkway on both ways. So that's going to be different this year. Part two is going to be the pier parking lot. The pier has not been opened since Hurricane Matthew. We are busier than we have ever been. And with Little Hunting Island now kind of being established and folks hearing about that, we're running into parking capacity issues at the pier on your average Wednesday. So I foresee that this is going to be a problem that we're going to have to address sooner than later. And I'm taking kind of the approach of let's evaluate as it happens and then see how best we can kind of address that from there.
I had a question.
Sure.
I don't remember when. It was before the pandemic. They tried having a bus take people out. Mm-hmm. Are you going to try that again? Or?
Well, I think that part of that was, we were really evaluating everything. Mm-hmm. Now I think the significant portion of where we're at in the discussion is from a utility standpoint, from an infrastructure standpoint, is that, we lost several bathrooms, restroom facilities due to the storms and erosion that have not been replaced. And we do have portalets that are stationed along the South Beach section of the island. And in my view, as long as we have to rely on portalets consistently, we're probably not prepared to accommodate more folks, because we want to, as stewards of the Park Service, we want to make sure that we're giving 100% of our customer service 100% of the time, and not minimizing that or kind of diluting that by trying to get more folks in and offering 50%. of our true value of what we can offer. So as of now, it's on the table. We just kind of have to figure out how we're going to accommodate those folks. So we'll move forward from that. Just some common statistics really quickly. The number has been tossed around for years that Hunting Island sees about 1 million people per year. I really tried to get some hard numbers on that this year and get a solid number. And the challenge to that is passports. So the South Carolina Park Service offers passports. And it will allow anybody in your vehicle into the park as many times as you want to come. All right. So tracking visitors through that is difficult. However, in accounting for daily admission passes, as well as the portion of our passport sales and then our overnight accommodations, it's true. We do see about 1 million people a year. So I'm happy to say that we were right where we needed to be with that assumption, and also to say that number is growing every year. So keep that in mind. It's getting busier and busier. Number of campers and day use visitors. We see about 550,000 campers annually. And again, that's at 125 campsites. And we do have 3 primitive sites that are not incredibly busy, but that does contribute to that number. So from an event standpoint moving forward, we are planning to have a Pledge of the Pink run in October. Of course, we do our annual Pelican Plunge with Friends of Hunting Island, an incredible organization we're fortunate enough to have in our corner and work together closely with them, and we'll continue to move forward with that. They've got some incredible initiatives on their website and on their Facebook page. I encourage you to go take a peek at that because they're doing some really cool things there. And it changes. They keep me on my toes. It changes all the time, and they are certainly active and engaged, and I really appreciate them. So some policy updates. There will be a bit of a change in how we work with an enforcement of rules and regulations throughout the park. We're communicating with Beaufort County right now to kind of communicate our concerns and see how best we may be able to kind of navigate those waters. And again, certainly appreciate any and all advice and the professional experience from Beaufort County on that side to kind of help guide us down that path so we can get there as best as we can. We do have an emergency action plan in place. So if I could share that with anyone, if there are things that need to be added with that, I do have an SOP and an EOP that's been established. It was refreshed in 2021. And it does detail the entire process for pre-storm, post-storm, and I'm happy to share that if council would like. So, and I've got some emergency contact information that I've shared with the county. I'd be happy to share with anyone that had any questions with that as well. Feel free to reach out to us. We feel like we can give you guys a call anytime, and certainly appreciate that and want to offer that out to you as well. Happy to talk with you anytime.
Okay, thanks, Brandon. I'm going to ask the Public Information Officer to prepare a notice to be sent to all of our employees to inform them of the video of your presentation, and also ask him to send it to the media to inform anyone who is on our notification list that the video will be in the archive and they can have access to it at their leisure. Anybody have any questions, Mr. Goff, before he retires? Before he leaves?
Sure.
Yes, Brandon, on the Lighthouse.
Yes.
When we visited with a group of individuals, one of our individuals physically could not climb all the stairs. What we did is we took a video, showing them the inside, looking up, and then from the top looking out. Is there something like that could give people a virtual experience while it's closed?
I'm glad that you mentioned that. I would be remiss if I did not bring that up, is that we actually we do have a virtual reality experience for the Lighthouse at the park. The Friends of Hunting Island were kind enough to build a small lighthouse replica within the visitor center, and that offers an ADA accessible, even wheelchair, you can roll in, panoramic view of a virtual hike to the top of the lighthouse. It's an incredible experience.
Great.
We also offer the headset versions, the ones that you see every day on YouTube, the funny ones, we've got those as well. And I appreciate you bringing that up because I'll get in trouble if I didn't say something about that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I think that's one. If you didn't mention, the friends would be upset with you on that and stuff.
Agreed.
It is there.
And the county helped fund it.
We did. We did. You and Ms. Howard talked about parking.
Yes.
That was a concern of mine, accommodation. But you are not at a point now to accommodate more people, so you don't even worry about the parking right now. But your numbers are still up, so that's a good sign that people are still visiting the park, and it's one of the most popular places. And they had a study on the parks with the beaches, and Honey Island was not at the top of the list and stuff. But I was wondering why. But that's okay. We probably don't want too many folks out there now anyway. I did have a chance to plant 1 or 2 seedlings at the park during the renourishment.
Oh, really?
Last summer. I think Senator Kimson was there, and Representative Rivers and Eric.
Shannon.
Shannon Erickson, were there and stuff. So I was there. Paul had your district. I do have your district now. So I probably just need to get my free pass from you to visit and stuff. But tell me, where is the little Honey Island? My first time I heard Little Honey Island.
Sure. So Little Honey Island is the term that we've kind of coined for the southernmost end of the lagoon.
Okay.
So during Hurricane Matthew, when the lagoon breached, it minimized the amount of flow that was coming down toward the pier. So if you walk out onto the pier, you go about halfway out and you look to your left, you see the beach right there, and then you see a footbridge. So that footbridge is actually the only access that gets onto Little Honey.
Yeah, okay, I've been there. So that's called Little Honey Island.
It is, and so that area is 100% untouched. So there are, quite honestly, it's the most hazardous area on the park that we have. Oyster shells, lots and lots of driftwood, pitfalls. At high tide, most of it is underwater, and so you don't see it. Lots of cuts and scrapes, responses for issues out there. It's a concern because it is a beautiful area. You know, it's raw, and you get a visceral experience when you go out there. But how can we manage that? You know, how do we best interpret that? How do we, let the public know about the issues that are there? Compounded with the fact that it is a beach access that has a separate kind of parking right at the pier. While it's a half-mile walk to the pier or to the beach, Little Honey Island, from that parking area, we did notice an influx of visitation down there this year. So based on the trends, I foresee that's going to be an issue, and how we kind of address that. We do have another access point to Little Honey Island. So one thing that we are considering is the trail that moves to Little Honey Island would shift over into the park itself, eliminate the trail coming kind of from that nature center area and hiking a half-mile in and come down via the lagoon into Little Honey Island. So we're tossing some ideas around right now, but again, before we assume that we've got this thing figured out, I'd like to kind of sit back and
Since you've been there for 17 years, someone told me at some point in time, as the ocean current, because of the ocean current, the dune is being shifted from the north to the south. You seen that?
Yeah, so I've actually got a pretty interesting report. Coastal Science and Engineering, who has kind of led the beach renourishment project, some of their preliminary studies are about mapping the shoreline and mapping to see where that sand is shifting to. And so they kind of delineate the park into sections based on the erosive nature of each section. And it goes all the way from basically Highway 21 all the way up to Egg Bank. And you see those windows of the scalloping action that they're mentioning, where you kind of have the sand that's pulling and shifting to here. Interesting side of that is that, and speaking with Stephen Trainham, he's a great guy, works with Coastal Science and Engineering, known him for years, and really, kind of top class when it comes to understanding the dynamics of sand shifting and ocean currents, is that for years we can experience sand pulling from one area and moving to another, and then it shifts. and it changes. And so where we had been losing sand, we'll begin to accrete sand. And it's all part of what's happening at Egg Bank, what's happening up at for that matter, at DeVoe Bank, what's happening at Edisto, and how that current is shifting. So I see what's been established of those erosive points. If you stand down the beach and look at it from kind of a big picture, you can see the scallops, and I do see those. In particular, towards South Beach, where we kind of stopped the nourishment. You can see on a pretty big tide, pretty decent high tide, that the tide is coming up to the dune line. And then, you go a portion up and you won't see that. You'll have plenty of beach. So I think it's a product of the dynamics. I'm not seeing anything right now that's surprising me. I think it's pretty much what we anticipated was going to happen. South Beach and along the lagoon, the area that was not touched by beach renourishment, that's going to be a case study and pretty interesting to see because, it's going.
How was Beach Sweep last weekend? Was it clean or dirty or in between?
Really a good thing that we're experiencing is in one of the last beach sweeps that we did, we actually didn't have a lot of trash, so we kind of circled back and said, where can we go? So we actually did a trail sweep.
Okay.
We're trying to be more present on the beach this year. We're making a concerted effort to, require rangers to be out there on a recurring basis, not just, when we're called out there, but really look at our entire operation. I'm hoping that that's going to kind of help with the amount of litter that we're seeing there. So fingers crossed.
Good. That's all I have. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, anything further? Okay.
Mr. Redmond wants to make a comment.
Just one comment, Larry. My understanding, although even in the shorter terms, it can do the opposite, that the long term over the coast, that the islands generally erode at the north end and accrete at the south end. That's what I've heard over time.
I'm not privy to that. That may very well be accurate. I couldn't speak to that. It's, it's from what I see and at a park ranger kind of level.
Yeah.
That may be the case.
That's been true of Hilton Head, I think, over the recorded history.
Right.
But it does do the opposite from time to time.
They're different. That's all.
It's incredible. I mean, I'm very fortunate, again, as I said, to have lived and seen some incredible places that we have in the state of South Carolina. And the folks in this area are so fortunate to have Hunting Island and be able to experience a place like that is so dynamic and changes so quickly. It really is special. I'm kind of proud to be here and honored. Really, it's a super special place.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Well, thank you again. I appreciate you guys having me. Feel free to reach out anytime and come by and see us at the beach. Get sand between your toes, but just brush it off before you leave. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brandon. Thank you very much.